Coming up on today's show, we've got part 14 and the last part of the Hind. What a fantastic build this one's been. Thoroughly enjoyed every single minute of this one, so we'll be having a look at that at the end of the show. Part 9 of the Tornado. Tornado's back on track, big in with a bang, lots of camo work, bleaching, fading and weathering in. Live show, Tuesday night's live show, mammoth one. I think we were on for something like 4.5 hours, so a big old show that one. Kit reviews this week, we've got Airfix's 1 to 350 scale Type 45 destroyer. We've also got the Alec scraper sets. These are specially shaped steel plates which can be used for sort of deburring, scrape cleaning and reshaping styrene. We've also sorted out the group build and the SIGs for next year, so we'll be having a look at those and obviously looking at the ones that are going to take us to the end of the year, plus all the other news and gossip. Hello, welcome to Flory Models. I'm Philip Flory. Amazing week this week. Very busy, trying to sort out lots of things that will be happening next week. We'll cover that in a moment. But certainly from my point of view, the Hind was completed off fully last week. A few little photos and everything we needed to do this week. But basically the Hind, we make some room, it's been finished off. So you've got part 14 is up on the site now, and I have to say again, it's one of those builds where I started off with and I was thinking, oh, we're just going to spend some time talking about weathering, and it's turned into one of those bigger builds and gone on a little bit longer than originally I had sort of anticipated. It has been a lot of fun. I've thoroughly enjoyed this build. It's been one of those ones where I've been able to show you new techniques that I've learned recently, old ones which I've sort of, you think, why don't I use them anymore, and I've sort of brought them back and everything else. So in the last part, basically it's going to cover the final assembly, final weathering, and obviously for the final reveal at the end. So, but as I said, from a point of view of going through painting and weathering else like that, it really has been a lot of fun. If you haven't seen any of this particular build, it's probably well worth looking, certainly at the last sort of 3 or 4 parts where we cover weathering, because a lot of the techniques I've used on this particular build you could use on absolutely anything else. So anything from vehicles to ships to diorama weathering. Certainly by doing the soot staining and everything else, that was just done with the wash, with the black wash, and to go round and to give it the streaking and all the weathering that it's been on there is all basically done by the wash. But also, again, we spoke about it a lot before, it is the ACAM paints. They are absolutely lovely. So we've done lots of firsts with this one. We've done things like obviously ACAM paints, never used it before, so that was a complete first with this one. We've also gone along and removed all the carrier film from the decals. Again, another complete first, never done it before. I'm going to do that on every build from now on. It works extremely well. Okay, and then other firsts as well. So we've gone along with the weathering, and we've done things like using airbrush cleaner as a weathering effect. Again, it's something I used to do many years ago. I probably haven't used that technique at least in the last 6 or 7 years, but something I used to do all the time to give us this sort of streaked, weathered look. That's just airbrush cleaner and everything else like it. So really enjoyed it. Go and have a look at it. There's lots of tips to pick up on this one, and certainly been a very fun build. So with that one out of the way, it made loads of room for this guy. Now this we've got here, this is the Revell, if you can remember this far back, Tornado. This is GR4, and yes, I still got that nose weight to take care of, which I will do probably in the next part of the video. I'll show you how to get rid of this. Okay. Generally, we've done something completely different to what we did on the Hind. The Hind was your more traditional of, obviously it had its primer, then we went through obviously with pre-shading, and then we went through weathering and bleaching and filtering of all the paint work on this to give us this type of effect. The Tornado, completely different. Primed it, and then it had the grey down. Okay, then we went through our weathering techniques as we standard do, about obviously fading and bleaching to really give us a sort of mottled effect to the grey. Then we've used the good old-fashioned tack worms, of which we've still got a lot of it here, to actually mask up, to give us a almost hard edge camo. And this is the thing with the Tornadoes, we didn't want to do totally hard edge and just mask it, because I think they don't look very realistic. It looks very sort of, almost die cast or, mahogany effect model. We wanted it to have somewhat of a weathered look, so by using the tack worms, quite thin ones, you're able to get a pretty smooth line, as you can see on this guy all over, but at the same time a slight feathered edge, and that's what we wanted to do. And instead of going around trying to do it all freehand like we did on the Hind, this one we just mastered up, blew right over it with the green, and then we've gone around again and post shaded and posted everything up on this one. So the next 2 parts you're going to see will cover what we're up to now. Okay, so what we've actually got for you this week is part, I gotta remember it is now, part 9. That's going to cover the grey work of exactly how we do the grey work to feather it in. Now the great thing is with this one, if you're planning on just doing the traditional new modern grey all over scheme, I show you how to do that one. Then next week's part, you're going to get part 10. We'll talk about obviously the green work, doing all the green and the weathering in and everything else like that. So really pushing ahead with this one. We'll have this one done probably Monday or Tuesday next week, completed, because all the other parts are done down there in front of us as well. So that's been very handy. Again, loving that kit. It's a fantastic kit. So, you know, have a look at that one. News this week. Obviously, a couple of things going on. We had the live show on Tuesday, which absolutely thoroughly enjoyed it. Lots of laughs, it's a lot of giggle, and as I said, we're not so much there for the modelling, me and Sid, it's more for answering your questions and from the feedback and everything else about it. So modelling sort of goes out the window. It's more of a fun evening chat, if you like, which overran by 90 minutes because originally we should have done 7 till 9. We've gone over complete that. I think we finished at 10:30 in the end, so we did slightly overrun. But it was a lot of fun. We get through as many questions as you can of yours as possible and everything else. So let's have a quick look.
Only you can see what we can see. Yeah, we can.
Well, we can. You see us. That's the point to it. Right. Well, thank you very much for all your kind feedback from last week. Well, not last week. It was 2 weeks ago. No, actually.
It was, yeah.
2 weeks. Yeah. 2 weeks ago, we did the live shows. As I said, it was a test to see how it went. Quite frankly, me starting my own wasn't very entertaining, but with Sid here, on the other hand, that made it go a lot better. So,
well, he's got more comments as to
well, that's it. Yeah, it did help. And I'm not having to sort of look, try and read it across the room, answer it whilst doing everything else. So, and obviously it's a little bit more interactive. And if I'm honest, we had more feedback than I thought we were going to get.
Well, so I can only see it from my side of the things, from the actual site, where you said obviously from your side of things you had a lot more.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was quite good to hear the positive feedback.
That's right, and you know, because of that, we're going to make this hopefully a weekly thing.
Yeah. So
Sid is agreed to co-host this with me, but his sins are all the rest of it. So
unless I get booed off.
Well, if you get booed off, yes. You have the power. You know what's going to happen? I'll get booed off. You'll be sat here.
Oh, no, please don't do that.
That's it. I'm going to get kicked out. So anyway, the idea is roughly what you saw last week in the latter part of the week. It's your show. We're going to attempt to do some modelling very badly, just to keep us going as well.
Show you how it's not done.
Yeah, show you it's not done. You ask questions. If I can show you live, I will show you live, and obviously, you know, we can get back and forth as we go, and everything else like that. So any comments, questions, shout outs, whatever you want, just bung it in the forum and we can answer you straight away. We're hoping to develop this as well into we're going to invite guests on. So people either can come here live in the studio with us.
That'll be good, yeah.
Or what we can actually do through the powers of Google Hangout is have them from anywhere in the world, and they can join us in a Hangout as well, which is something we were playing with the other night, myself and the team, which seemed to work almost after a little go. So that was quite good. So that way you don't have to be in Devon or Cornwall in your case, or Somerset, or somewhere close by. You can be anywhere in the world, and we can get you in. That's oh no, what have I done with all the bounty? I've got about 28 million rolls in this house already. So that's right, keep them going.
Righty ho, what have we got here? We got Alan that says, that's tomorrow night's set, as in tonight. And they're calling this the 2 flories.
That's it, the 2 flories.
Larger font size, especially for Sid. Thank you, Alan.
Great job. Right, okay, so the way I do it, get a capful, load your brush, okay, as you would normally your dry brushing, rub it all off completely onto an area just down on a bit of kitchen roll, get rid of it all, okay, and then you wait. You leave it because you want it to dry. And this is the only time you can actually really do proper dry brushing, I suppose, because it is, you want the brush to actually dry out. Needs something. I suppose they won't really see it, but no, the idea is when the brush is actually dry, it works more like a pigment than actually your traditional dry brushing. So it gives you a really, really nice, I'll just run it around here, metal effect. Okay, I'll just run it around here. Because it's buffables, it goes for miles. The traditional, when you're doing traditional dry brushing with something like, you know, my normal way, so say you've got something like, I don't know, flat aluminium from Tamiya XF16, the trouble with it is it wears off, okay? And so usually either it starts really strong and then fades back, so you can sort of scrub harder. But if you're using the actual buffables, the metallizer paints, they go on for ages. Literally, they just keep giving. And it gives it at the same rate. It's not like it suddenly starts to get dry, so you have to scrub. You just keep that flicking going on and going around absolutely everything at that same rate all the time, and it literally goes on and on and on and on and on. Okay, so there we go. We've just done the entire fuselage under here. Now, if this was fuselage to the aircraft chassis, it's been done on one brush full. I could probably still do the entire SIDS as well with that brush full, because it literally keeps giving. How well the camera will pick up on that. Okay, it literally will just keep going and going and going without any problem. And you can sometimes literally, I'll be in the thing, if I just want a little bit of dry brushing, I will just get it out of the pot where it's still got it on there and do it a little bit more. So I do like it now. It gives that nice. If you watch one of the early ones from Hind, I did it in the cockpit. And I think I also did it around the engines, if I remember correctly, and some other little areas as well in the back to really sort of liven it up. But it's changed my way of doing it. Traditionally, as you said, acrylic, rub it all off, keep going back and forth, and keep adding to it. But now I find with the buffables, it really gives a very nice weathered effect without having strong edges. It's pretty muted and gives it that sort of, you know, and it goes on forever, you know, keeps going.
That's what I did, because you haven't even painted it yet.
No, I don't have to do.
Yeah. Sorted.
And it's done. If I could only get the wheels on.
Sore subject.
Yeah, don't mention the wheels. From what's in here first. So just goes in. Our Bisto.
I must admit, I was watching your one of your Hind clippets yesterday, and you could see the mist.
Yeah.
on the film.
And then hopefully you can see it goes. You know, turn the extractors on, it goes. And that's the other thing. For all those who
quite amusing to watch.
You do worry about my health. I know I do get a lot of people saying like you really ought to wear a mask and all the rest of it. Be rest assured, the bit when I cut off camera and I say, and I'll carry on, then obviously I will hit all the extractors, of which I have 3 in here. I have 2 down there. I have the one behind me, you know, as well. They all go on. I normally leave the room for half an hour as well for it to clear, and then I'll continue with them all running. I don't sit here and smoke myself out, and I do have a respirator and everything else. So once you've done your cleaned, I don't squirt it through. Very important, because otherwise all the crusty stuff you take them from around the colour cup, you put it to the needle end, so you dump that.
Your equivalent way of an ashtray?
Yes. Yeah, because I don't smoke anymore, this is what it is. Then we just do a refill. There's only a couple of drops going in here, it's not tons of it. Okay, and we just give it a swill again, nicely down around the needle. Okay. Making sure you've got all the nasties out. Again, it's a full dump.
And I'm assuming you would do this after every like a day.
A day's airbrush cleaning. Yeah, this is my full airbrush cleaning routine. Okay, just a few more drops. This just gets it out of the nozzle. Okay, then again, it'll go into here. Well, to be honest, I tend to shoot this straight at that extractor because that one is exhausting outside the building. There's a hole in that wall from where the pipe goes up and goes out. Goes through. Okay, now technically you could walk away from that now and be very happy. Okay, so I would give it a quick lean scrubby round, just getting dry bits. Always clean off your airbrush afterward, purely because, you know, the OCD kicks in. All right, and then I've got how many empty pots of this is acrylic. This is the Vallejo airbrush cleaner. Literally goes in. And I will blow that out exactly the same way until it disappears from the needle. There. and I leave it with the last bit of airbrush cleaner in this section, it's not going to leak or fall out or anything else like that. It's fine because it's just in there. When I come back the next day, the next week, I literally, and you're good to go. It stops the needle jamming.
That's what I've been doing wrong then.
Yeah.
I've been emptying it out completely. So.
Yeah. But what it does, because it's Teflon filters and it's this, that, and the other, it's not going to go horrible.
Right.
And it's quite nice. And this particular one has got a, I don't know what they call it. It's like a flow enhancer or something. Basically, it's supposed to lubricate as it all goes. But if you was to leave it dry and you blowed it all out and you're like, right, okay, there's nothing coming out, it dries out, everything sticks inside, and then you pull the trigger and it's locked.
That's what I've been doing.
So if you do it, literally undo it and you're good to go. But that is my routine for doing that type of cleaning. Pretty straightforward, very, very quick and everything else. But I only do that much for full-on end-of-day cleaning. If it's something like, you know, we're doing just with the general stuff, you know, day-to-day colour changes, it's literally just a swill, blow it through, and then the next colour goes in.
Okay.
I don't do full colour changes.
You don't?
That. No.
Because I'm paranoid that I'll always clog it up. So sometimes I'll actually do a...
Especially if I'm on a roll, it's like I'm just going to keep going. So I'll just change colours and go through. Especially when I was doing the Hind. If you watch the Hind ones, there's quite a lot of interesting bits and pieces in there. You know, I just adjust the colour, chuck it a bit more, and carry on. You know,
because you said you wanted it all to fade into each.
That's right. Yeah, I wanted it all to look the same everywhere. And a good way of doing that is when you're changing the colours, is that they merge in. So there's no strong line anywhere. Anything else like that.
Okay. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes. Sorry, Bob. Long-winded way.
Yeah. If it doesn't, please put another comment up, and we'll see whether we can answer it if we didn't.
Yes. I can do a quick demonstration here live. This stuff is, I think we all know what this is. I've done a review of it. It's actually quite good stuff. The only thing is, it's very, very thick. It's not the easiest paint to work with, because what it actually is between us, it's Vallejo normal, the white top Vallejo paints.
Okay.
Comes out the same factory. So that's what it is. It's actually made for them by Vallejo, and that's why it says down here somewhere. What it used to. Am I thinking of a different one? No, just the European Union. But the thing is with it, it's very, very thick. So when you come to your airbrush, bearing in mind it's got the 0.2 in. It's been kicking, man. I've
gone off track now. No,
okay. That's it. You've got involved yourself.
I know. How selfish of me.
But this stuff, as I say, is really, really thick. I won't do a full load. We just put a bit in here because it is light. You see, it's literally like treacle. This is the thickest stuff I know of. But it's got the consistency, honestly, of like Bovril. It's really thick.
Or Marmite.
Or Marmite.
It'll like it.
But the thing is if I was to try and spray this with quite a low air pressure, you know, you can see it's spitting. I'll do a bit here and show the guys then. Okay, you might be able to see it's actually spitting all over the place, yeah? But if I hoof up the old air pressure, bearing in mind this is the thickest thing I've got, right? I'll get it out even. Hold on. You can see the difference actually. I think what it is, we've got a bit of enamel in here as well. There we go. Now we're getting there. I'll do the other side.
You'd be a great person to do cake decorating.
I know, I'll be good at this, won't I? People say about, oh, how do you do these fine lines? It's all my years of paint decorating. Okay, and that is unthinned stuff like treacle, but that's probably kicking it out around about 30 psi.
Right.
Okay, and that is as sharp as a Sharpie thing on a Sharpie. You know, so it doesn't have to be a problem. And that is what I mean. You get a lot of people, and I know sometimes I'm quite harsh and I'm quite opinionated. But you do get people that say, oh, you need to thin, you need to be at this, you can't do this, you can't do that. And I'm like, crap. If you've got the air pressure and a compressor that will do it, then you can overcome anything. You know, and that's unthinned treacle. And people would say, I know most people would say, you know, if I gave them a bottle of that, they say, oh, you can't spray that, it needs to be thinned, and then you'd need to do this with your air pressure and all this rubbish, and it's a case of rubbish. You know, I will just put it in and just maximum air pressure and just go for it, and you should be fine. And that's the thing with it, is that
I suppose it's also having the confidence and the knowledge behind it as well, and knowing that that's what will happen as well.
Well, I didn't know. It was a bit of a test. I just winged it. Actually, I think I'm going to keep that, because that's bloody brilliant. Like, you know, I'm quite impressed with that myself. I'm like, gee, if you think
you can use that on your air course.
Yeah, I think I would be definitely. That's it, everyone. No, but seriously, I surprised myself then, because it actually worked a lot better than I thought. But by this, what I mean is, you don't get too bogged down with ratios. You know, I think I explained this on a video. I might have been in the Hind. I spoke about it, but people say to me, "Oh, what ratio should it be? Should it be 50-50? You know, what paint, what air pressures, and all the rest of it?" Everybody's going to be different. It's different on your airbrush. It's different conditions, temperature, so forth and so on. And also, it depends what you're spraying on. Like, that's just on some neat plastic. Anything could have happened. But if you're on something that's primed, it should hold on to it a bit better. You shouldn't get any sort of splattering. My point to it is, doesn't matter what the mix is, air pressure.
Okay.
So, i.e., and it's easier to work with as well, because if you've got speckling, okay, up your air pressure, right? If you've got a thing where it's spidering, lower your air pressure. That's all you have to worry about.
Okay.
Don't worry about the variables about thinning stuff, because trust me, you will be chasing, you know, a unicorn.
I suppose
it doesn't really exist.
Comfortable for you and what you used to.
Yeah, that's right. And it's that thing, you know, with me, all right, I sit here and I just grab a bottle of paint and chuck it in, and I know I'll make it look really easy and all the rest of it. But
which you do.
Which I know I am guilty of, and that's why it's nice having you here to pull me back a bit, because otherwise I'm just like, yeah, just whack it in, it's fine. But the thing is you should try at home. Everybody should have a sheet of styrene. If I could afford it, I'd send everybody a sheet of styrene and say, with me sticker on one side, and you colour it in. And literally, I would say, just spend a couple of hours playing, grab some crap paint, chuck it in your airbrush, and just see what you can and can't do with your airbrush, and get used to it. Because as soon as you start to find the limitations on what it will do and what it won't do, you know, to be honest, that paint, I didn't think it was going to do quite as well as it did. I thought it was still going to be, it would do it, but it was going to be not as sharp as that. You know, but that's done it perfectly, as if it had been thinned and ratioed and at 12 psi and all that rubbish. Yeah, whack it in, go for it. Sorry, sidetracked.
The unedited version.
Yeah, that's right.
So as you can see, it's really a bit of a giggle, a good laugh. We get to answer your questions direct, and then we can show you with all the gear we got here, you know, some of your things. So in that case, where we're showing about paint and thick paint and everything else, we'll be able to spray it. And now you're on a good camera, I can actually show you. This is actually what we got. That was what we were doing. That's the horrible side, because obviously the close-up on the other one's a bit naff, and this is obviously the better one. So as you said, sometimes it's nice just to push through and experiment with your paint and everything else, and that's what we were saying in that bit of the discussion about get yourself a bit of plastic art and have a play with it. You know, as I said, if I could afford it, everybody would have a sheet on me, because I think it's one of those things where you can learn quite a lot by just experimenting and playing, and everybody should spend a couple of hours every month just having a play to see what they can and can't do, and everything else like that. And when you can't do it, finding out the reasons why it's not working, and everything else like that. But again, we're going to be back on Tuesday night again next week, where me and Sid will be back to answer your questions. Might do some modelling, might not, and all the rest of it and everything else. But as I said, it's our new weekly slot. The other thing as well, we've mentioned obviously in the show, but a lot of you have said it's a shame you can't watch it live, because obviously for the interactive side of it and answering questions and feedback and things like that. What we're going to do, I spoke to Sid about it just before we went on air last week. He's agreed to it as well. He's got some spare days in that we can fit in. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to do an Australian version where we'll get up nice and early here at 10 in the morning. We'll do 10 till midday, which in your time, in Sydney time, is going to be around about between 7 and 9 at night. Okay, so you guys will then be able to interact with us, and everyone else can be able to watch the recording and things for that day. Okay, so we'll come in early. We're going to do a US one as well, which will obviously be a late night for us, or a very early morning for us, one or the other, because obviously you're 5 to 8 hours different difference, but we'll do that as well. So everybody gets a bit of a shout at this as we make our way around the world in different time zones and everything else like that, so you can watch us live. Thanks for all the feedback on it. I know we have massive amounts on the time, you know, we've got a couple hundred of you watching live, which is great, but as I said, there's been over sort of 2,000 of you watched it now. Obviously it's just for members. We'll probably make it publicly available as it gets archived and makes its way further off into the distance and everything else. The teething trouble seemed to get off. I know we lost air briefly for a few seconds. I think that's more YouTube than it is us, but definitely the quality seems to be there. I hope you agree. We're pretty much HD streaming all the time. We can show nice and close-ups. We have got those modes with the camera we were playing with if you watched it live, where we can track individual items and zoom in and everything else with this particular webcam. It is working very, very well. I am going to be doing live courses as well for airbrushing. Loads of people asked about it. I mentioned it on this week's show. That is the plan. Maybe I'll get Sid up for it as well, and both of us, I can show you with Sid and yourselves. We're probably going to try and make it around about sort of 5 to 10 of you at a time, just so I can answer your questions and you can show me with your webcam as well exactly what effects you're getting and where it's going wrong. So, you know, if we've got too many of us, I just won't be able to give you that individual attention you're going to need for doing them, but certainly it'll be, you know, a bit of fun as well and everything else, just as we do the airbrushing courses here, which funny enough we got one on Saturday here. So this weekend we're doing an airbrushing course, so it means I've got to clear all this way this afternoon and turn it back into a classroom. Anyway, a couple of reviews for this week. I'm going to start off with actually this one over here. We'll start with the Airfix one. This is the Type 45 Airfix Destroyer 1/350 scale. Okay, kit review time. Today we've got Airfix's 1/350th scale Type 45 Destroyer. Something a little bit different about this one. It's the new breed of the British Destroyer. As you can see, lovely box art on the front, and obviously the markings we're going to be coming with, which is D32, which is HMS Daring, D33 HMS Dauntless, D34 HMS Diamond, D35 HMS Dragon, D36 HMS Defender, and D37 HMS Duncan, all beginning with Ds for Destroyer. Makes it nice and easy. Okay, the box, things around it, we got I think different languages down there, probably not English, and then over here we've got about it, obviously some information about the Type 42s and then the Type 45 destroyers, what we're going to get, as well as a couple of helicopters in the box as well, and everything else like that. Price, as you saw on the price tag there, to be honest, it's not my kit, it's a friend of ours kit. It's around about the sort of £40 mark. As I said, something a little bit different. So in the box, as I say, it's not my kit, so obviously our friend of ours has already been through it, so we'll have a look at the instructions first. As you can imagine, Airfix's normally way of doing it, going through, it's kit number A12203. Okay, so usual thing, as we can imagine, with all their instructions. And then straight on, talking about opening up holes, fair enough. Obviously it's depending on what weapons fit you're going to have to what holes you open up, because obviously there is differences between different types and things like that. And then basically starting on the top half, you're going to be adding a lot of the sort of the bulkheads and obviously major areas. Doesn't take long before you get into the small bits, which personally I think you're probably going to leave till last. Okay, then we got the heli area itself, the little hangar for that one, going in through the back and then up towards the main communications mast and the stacks, or stacker in this case. Okay, putting those in and everything else. Some more of these bulkheads, you can see you're working up with like a plating system with more of the detailed bolts onto the side, which is fair enough. Okay, and goes through. So pretty much building up as you would a ship, as you'd imagine. Putting all these areas in, and then obviously you've got the bridge up here being put in. We've got the missile bays underneath coming up, some of those areas, deflectors going on the front rail, and then underneath putting in some bulkhead systems purely to make it a nice snug fit as it goes down. And then it's going to be two halves going together underneath, which will make this somewhat interesting. Okay, so there we go, nice big scene for you to do. Are we going to do waterline? Yes, you do have the option for a waterline, which is very nice. When we say waterline, either means you can do the whole hull, or you could place it onto a diorama, so you don't need the underbit, so it fits better, and you don't have to cut a massive great hole in the bottom of your diorama to fit it in. So you do have the options for those going down in there, and then obviously if you're going to go for the full hull, you've got the stabilizers and the shafts and rudders coming out the back. and the props going on. Okay, some more details going in at the top. Obviously we've got the search radars, things like that going in there. All the lumps and bumps that you can imagine go all over a ship is going to take up the next bit, which if you were with me when I did the Iwo Jima build, you understand takes forever. And making our way through, so we've got actual missile launchers. We've got the guns for the main deck going through, the main gun for the actual ship itself, boarding steps, and then the actual aircraft, which will be interesting to see. So we've got little links here at the back. You can either have the rotors open or we can have them folded up. Same goes with the Merlin as well, and then obviously fitting them in. So I imagine you can either have one door or other. I don't think it'll be carrying both. And then we've got the call out, which is quite handy being that it's in colour. Depending on which one you're doing, obviously HMS Dragon here had the, well, nose art, I suppose you'd call it, on the front, obviously with the dragon, the Welsh dragon on there as well. So call outs, I presume, are pretty generic for everyone apart from names and numbers and things like that between them all. Okay, and going through, but anyway, it gives you your call outs down there and your actual colours. So not too bad at all. Now, obviously we've done ships in the past and reviewed them, and there's nothing to look at because there's so many tiny bits that go on that make up the detail. So the only thing that sort of worries me, but it doesn't worry me that much, is some of the sink marks on this. But a lot of these sink marks, like this giant guy here, you're not going to worry about because it's got things going on it. So it doesn't actually make it a problem. Okay, generally looking around, looking at the detail, if we look on the close-up and sort of pan through, you can see there's not much to see. What we are looking out for is obviously surface texture, things like that down here on the deck. Pretty good. If you can catch them in the light, there we go. You can see we've got the drainage holes, and I presume that also doubles up as a fire extinguisher points for the washdown as they go through. The lower hull, quite nice, no centre seam down in there and all the rest of it. So as you say, pretty bland on the old detail. It's the more detailed parts we want to look at. So speaking of which, massive chunky sprues that we've come to love from Airfix. Okay, some of these details, as you can see, we've actually got, looks like these are the missile tube, launch tubes. Very nicely detailed, actually pretty sharp details. We've got lumps, bumps, grooves, raised detail on those, which is quite a nice touch. Down here, obviously you've got doors and ladders, you know, lightly, you know, they're all raised details, but they're pretty good. Okay, they're not too bad. I think by the time, as said, like we did with Iwo Jima, you know, sort of get on some nice paintwork onto this and then dry brushing and some washes, you can actually do pretty much with this. So really the detail's not too bad. The ship side itself, as you can imagine, there isn't much on here. What I'm looking for is sink marks and anything that's going to prove to be a problem for you, of which I can't really find any, so that's not too bad at all. Some nice details in there. Okay, and on the other side, so again, we've got a lot of this, we've got bulkheads down here, bit nasty I suppose if you want. This is the stand for it if you want to put it on a stand. It's not brilliant detail, it's not jumping out and saying wow this is fantastic, but you know, I think it's doable. It's a little bit soft if we're honest, some of this detail here. To be honest, I'm looking at this on the HD monitor over there and it looks better than it does to the eyesight. It's not sharp, it's a little bit softly moulded and everything else like that. You don't really have to worry about, you know, ejector pin marks and stuff like this on this because most of it will all be on the other side, but generally just a little bit soft, not as sharp as perhaps you would want. Okay, so some of the little bits and pieces. So, okie doke, we're looking down on here. So we've got the Zodiac or the ribs. They're moulded in one, which is quite a nice touch and not too bad at all actually. So you've got the seating for the ribs and everything else down there. We've got the bridge. Obviously this is some of your details up there. It's pretty sparse, but obviously because of the scale that's not too bad. We've got the life rafts. These are obviously the chaff and the flare launchers, things like that. Searchlights, the various bits you'd expect. Okay, the boarding ladders, not too bad at all as you're going up and everything else. Got the stabilizers, should be a nice fit on there. Can't see any problem with it. The only thing I imagine, it's all just a little bit clunky. And your last sprue. So as I said, there isn't a million sprues with this one. It is pretty sort of good. Generally, flash is a little bit over here. We've got some drag flash. It's running across, so it's probably removed from the mould. Something's stuck and pulled out, so I wouldn't take any notice of that. But certainly, all the rest of it doesn't seem to be too bad. It's Airfix's typical soft plastic, and the screws, to be honest, the actual propellers down the back here, they're a little bit flashy and a little bit messy, but you can easily clean them up. I wouldn't, you know, just write them off. They're not too bad. The actual Merlin helicopter doesn't look too bad. I think that would be okay once he's painted and weathered up a little bit. The Lynx, if I'm honest, is a little bit more crude. It's not the best in the world, not by the size of them doors it's going to have, and all the rest of it, but we are talking a very small scale, so you know, generally some of this more finer detail just needs sharpening up a little bit. You know, it might be nice, I presume there is a photo etch set to replace it. Some of these little things, details like this, which on ships really stand out, it's nice to have a photo etch set to do that. The actual main propellers, rotors even, a little bit flashy, all of those need a bit of cleanup if you're going to do it, and generally working our way down all the other bits and pieces, not too bad. They're all in here, all moulded. Sharpness is the thing I would say on this. Then it's not the sharpest moulding, considering it's one of their new ones, shall we say. It's not as sharp as perhaps I would like it. I would like to see it be a little bit sharper, a little bit nicer, and everything else. But there we go, that is the Airfix's Type 45 destroyer. Not the best, not the worst. So there you go, not a bad kit. As I said, not as sharp as perhaps other kits I've done in Ship World, but certainly for a modern ship, they all have this sort of, you know, stressed skin, sides flat, you know, no lumps and bumps like the old ones used to have. So certainly from that point of view, it will give you a great looking kit and everything else like that. And really for the money, I don't think it's too bad at all. You know, it's around about the £40 mark. You might be able to pick it up cheaper, it might be a bit more expensive, but certainly, you know, some nice options in there of the new British Type 45 destroyer. Okay, next up on the review is something, as I say, John at Models Are Go shouted me a phone call a couple of weeks ago and said about he's getting in these new tools. Would I like to have a play with them? So fair enough, John sent me down these little guys, lovely bits of steel. And when I first saw them, I was like, is that it? You know, literally it turned up in these packets, and I don't know what I was expecting, but I was expecting something a little more than a piece of steel. So I wasn't very impressed, but as you'll see in the review, I merrily got it out and we had a go. Okay, kit review time, something a little bit different. What we got down here is something myself and John at Models Are Go spoke about some time ago. He asked me if I'd ever used it. I said no. He said, I'll send you some, have a play with them, see how you get on. This is what we're talking about. What we have here, these are basically like a, you wouldn't call them a scribing, they're like a deburring tool. What you actually get is a very small, oops, how do we get in here? Sorry, it's obviously going to be peeling from the top. Okay, there we go. And then there's our little guy down here. What we've actually got is a piece of, I presume it is steel. Okay. Which one would assume it would cut itself out of the thing, which is, I suppose, you're probably talking around about 0.5 millimeter thick, okay? It's very, very strong. Okay, the idea with it is, as you can see on the back of the instructions, you can use it for scrape cleaning a lot of your surfaces, okay, instead of sanding them. Now, we've all done it traditionally with a blade of a knife, so poor old Buster gets another workout. So what we're talking about is this type of situation where if you had a seam line here, you could come along with your knife and you literally scrape down it through the multiple layers of paint, okay, and get into it that way. The trouble when you do that, obviously, is though you're causing a flat spot. Then you traditionally come along with your sanders and all the rest of it to re-round it off. The idea with these guys is though, is that because they're on a curve, okay, depending on which tool you've got, but you can do different angles. So this one, we've got a curved one, so it's not going to dig in as much, okay? So it will go along and clean up those joints and give you a slight curve at the same time. Now, depending on the particular tool, and to be honest, we've got two here, so let's have a look at this one. This one's a little bit better for it, okay? Now, these are actually made by a company called Alec, okay, made in Japan. This is, I've got two of them here. The numbers we've got here for both of these is ALK25 and ALK39, okay. I don't know, sorry, let's get the other one out. Right, this is number 25. I'm going to Sharpie this, otherwise we're going to forget. This is 25, okay, K25, K25, K25. Okay, that's just so I can remember which one's which. Okay, K25 is got the more rounded curves to it. Okay, so this is probably better for this type of thing we were just doing. All right, so you've got various different sizes, so you can come along, match the one you want. Okay, and then go in. That's something down here. Probably need to be a bit bigger than that one for down here, but you can roughly get it to be a very nice curve. And then obviously depending on the thickness you're on, coming up here for the top. Okay, you can come along and use the thinner ones. But what it's doing is making a very nice clean, and it is rounded, it's not flat at all, which is really, really nice. So okay, what practical uses have you got for this? Obviously centre seams like that. Really what we're talking about though, it could be very practical, is things like, and I've got one here, quite handy. Okay, I've got a little weapons set down here that needs to be doing. So, you know, you can use your line of sight to see how this is going to be. That's probably going to be a good one, but I want to go a little bit shallower because I don't want to scratch out my detail all around it. But for instance, if we just do this one in here, you can go along and amazingly, that works so well. It's one of those things that it's the first time I've used it. It's obviously just come out of the packet. But you can see, did a cracking job, and it's not flat. There's no flatness to that whatsoever. So obviously I've got the little nick I need to take out and clean out. So if we just take those off to make this a bit easier to do. Now I'm not saying this is gonna, you know, not take out your surface detail and all the rest of it, because quite clearly it obviously is. But what it is doing, when you find the right size, and it's easy just to come along and pop them on and see what it is, but once it's on there like that, you can actually then start to, you know, and obviously I've got detail up here in the way, so I'm just going to go down to this one. But because it's on a curve, it does, and there's no bend or flex in these guys whatsoever. Okay, so they're really, really handy for doing this, and I'm just wondering if you could possibly chisel with them. You can, so you can literally just push them along as well if you want to, but you know, on this edge of cleaning up like this, and then obviously we'll come in for a tighter one. As you can see, they do an absolutely brilliant job. So, you know, this is one of those tools I think actually it will come in really, really handy. Okay, and then here's a good example, because we've got, it's not centre at all. Okay, and let's just use this guy. This one's more, but you can probably see the fleck build up as you go through. And I'm not saying it's not going to destroy all your detail around it, because quite clearly it's scrape cleaning, but what it does do very well is make, one, a mess, okay, but secondly, as you can see there, it's taken out that seam completely, which is really, really clever. I must admit, it's one of those things, your tools, you think, well, I don't know, will it work, will it won't? Where it comes into its own, like say, you know, imagine this is a pipe work you're doing, something else like that. Again, you get your right size you want to use, so easy job of placing up, that is the one, and then, and again, completely gone, no problem at all. So as you say, your practical applications for it, for doing curved surfaces, are very good. It saves you having that flat thing of getting in there, and I do it a lot, and you see me doing it a lot, scraping through. With a curved surface, it gives you the better curve, so you're not having that flat type of situation. This other one, which wasn't K29, which must be, I'm going to mark it, this is going to be K39. Okay, this guy here, if you look at him, has got, pick him up even, as you can see, we've got 90-degree angles on here, we've got a curve here, you've got an angle down here, and to be honest, on the old instructions, I'm sure it said, it did, it's got what curves are what. So where are we? It must be that way up as it's showing. So it's saying down here we've got a 90-degree curve at the top. Okay, we've got small 90-degree curves in here. This one down here we've got a 0.15 on a curve. Okay, 35-degree angle down in here, it's a nice touch. Then you've got, this is 1 millimeter thick, that's 1.5 on a curved edge as well. Okay, 135 on this one, got a 90-degree right angle down here, 135-degree down there, and then as we make our way up, you've got a corner, obviously it's 90 degrees, 135, they seem to like those a lot. Okay, and then we're coming up 90 degrees, then you've got a 75 radial on that one, and a 120, okay, as you go right the way around. So, you know, if you're doing things like, and I think it shows it on one of these, as you can see down here, doing it on the tiny little details on edges, on round work, on wheels and things like that, does come in extremely well. I think it's one of those tools where you'd be surprised how much you use it. Personally, I think he's going to need a bit of filler in there, but you can see what I mean. You can put them in and actually do them. And these thin ones as well, you know, he's saying obviously about dropping them in. So if you have got something thin and it's 1.5 mil, you can go in there and it will get a curved edge. So what I'm imagining is, I'm sure there's a bit of scrap in here. We just give this to the test. What we're saying is, if you've got a flat edge, technically you can drop this in, and just so happens I have some 1.5, and it should round the end off. So if we do a bit of this, and if I carry on to the end, what it will do, he says, hoping, it's going to round it off, and it has. That is so clever. So this here, instead of it being flat and square, by using this tool, because it's got a curve on the end here, this little bit of curve here, by janking it on here and going for it, it's actually curved it off. Now if we do this small one, which, there we go, and it has thinned it and rounded this complete edge off. This is totally smooth, this corner now. So there's no actual right angle curve to it. It's actually a dome top, as is, clear the rubbish off, the end of this guy, which is a very nice touch. So if you did want to have something, you know, small, you're working with small parts, then you're going to be assembling them, it will be quite a handy tool. But I do like how it's made. It's really strong. There's no flex to it. When you're pulling down, it's not bending, and obviously if that was to happen, it wouldn't work at all. It needs to be something rigid. Obviously I presume this is steel, but it is very, very nice tool. It works really well. I can understand the reasons for using it. Like for instance, if you wanted to, you can use it as for doing your right angles and putting them in. So we have, there we go, that's sharp again now, that corner. We've put the right angle back in, you know, and these guys, they can come up here. And one would assume we can do that bit. And there we go, we've made a square edge on there where this is round. Very clever, I must admit. So it's one of those tools, I think, at the time, don't know, give it a whirl, and now I've got one, I'm thinking, brilliant, everyone should have one. Now, the bad bit is, because obviously it is a bit of steel, it isn't cheap. Now these work out at £10.25. So it's £10.25 for that, which, let's face it, it probably was on a giant sheet and went bang and punched out. But you know, I couldn't make one, so it makes it cheap and all the rest of it. Now, I do know for a fact, because John has sent me a little thing here, they do other shapes as well, which I'm not sure if he's got them in yet, but they are coming in. So you've got this guy, okay, which is obviously just a copy of one, okay, and this guy down here. So there is everything, and that's not some throwing star, it's actually it. And I don't know if he's done it, I presume that's inflated a little bit. They're a little bit bigger than what these are. I assume they're all going to be roughly the same size. But there we go. I think that is probably one of my handy tools. And it sticks to my magnetic strip, which makes it even better, because that means I'm going to be able to find it. So there we go. As I say, these are made by Alec, or Alec, from Japan. Good looking product, I must admit. And as I say, not speaking Japanese, I can't read any of the instructions on it. But anyway, I've got to the grips of it. I know how to use it, and I'm going to be using it from now on. There you go. I am completely sold on these things. You know, it's just one of those, sometimes you get things in the hobby which are just so simple, you think, why has nobody done it before? And this is definitely one of them. I know in the Far East they do a lot more scrape cleaning than perhaps we do here in the West. We tend to sand everything, where they tend to scrape clean it down, then do a little bit of sanding and its job. But certainly this is one of those tools which has come over now, and I think I can imagine everybody having one, because they do come in very handy for various things. And as I said, scratch builders will love this stuff, because when you're working with styrene, as in bars and squares, you know, and stuff like that, you've got all the angles on here to do various things with it. And some of the, I was talking about in the review about some of these angles, they like certain angles. I found out what it's for now afterwards. It's basically for shaping you know, styrene blocks and sheets to give you different angles. So if you did want to take an angle off of a long piece, perhaps if you scratch building buildings or whatever it is, and you need to make the ironwork look a particular shape. So for instance, down on this guy here, we've got this one, and it's basically designed for sort of doing pillar work and for I-beams and stuff like that to cut into. So it was something I didn't appreciate at the time, but obviously seeing how these are actually used now over there, I get a better understanding of it. But really handy pieces of kit. You know, I don't know if you need to go out and get all of them, but certainly, you know, having one of these in your sort of arsenal will really help out from time to time when you just want to do that little job. But I should think for doing things like aircraft to take down, you know, because the idea is you've still got that curve. So although you're going to take away a lot of the detail by scrape cleaning it, you're going to lose it. You're going to lose it anyway because you're going to sand it. This way, at least you've got the curve on it. So actually you're going to do less sanding. So you can be more precise with this, scrape clean them down, especially with these curved edges and stuff like that. You know, little things you can do with it is like leading edges of wings, scrape them along there and everything else. You're probably going to do less damage with this than you would do if you were just going to heavily come in with a normal sanding stick. You know, if you was to come in with something like this and just sand leading edge on a wing, you know, if you've got that laminate, you're going to end up with a big flat spot. Then you're going to have to come in with something like your sponges. You're going to come in with these, sand them down, you've lost less. Yet this guy, you literally come along, put your small one in here, scrape down, a couple of passes, seamless, and you're done. Little rub over, good to go, you know. So I think personally these will be little lifesavers, and definitely I'm going to use it. And the great thing is they are magnetics. They do stick to my little board up here, which is dead handy, because otherwise it's one of those things that's going to fall to the bottom of your tool chest. So there we go, dead handy type of thing to have. Available. Thank you to John and Mandy at Models I'll Go for sending me those ones. As I said, you can get them from them or probably anywhere in Japan, but certainly in the UK they're the only stockist I know of them. So everyone go and give them the Flory effect. Okie dokie, right, a couple of things I've got to mention. First of all, I have to mention Katie's Pink Spitfire. Owens Littleton has done a Spitfire. She's been with us for a couple of the live shows now, and she's been making a fantastic job, so let's have a look. Yes, it's very pink and we absolutely love it. So I did promise Katie we'd get her on there. She's also going to get a mug and a sticker and a pen and a badge and all the other bits as well. So thank you very much, Katie. Lovely to see your work. Now we want to see some other things. A bit of armour perhaps? Bless. Right, okay. Got to talk about it. A few things happening in the forum. First up, thumbs up. Yes, we've got the new thumbs up, thumbs down thing for the forum. Everyone seems to love it. I've had 2 people not. I don't think we're going to be using the thumbs down. You know us at Flory Models. I don't think anything's going to get a thumbs down unless it is particularly bad. As in, I'm not talking about model work, I'm on about a comment or something else like that that perhaps you don't agree with. But from people's work, you know what we're like. It's constructive criticism only on the site, as you know, so we're not allowed to do anything negative. If you're good enough to put it up, we will absolutely love it. It's as simple as that. I don't think it's going to be a problem. My thing to it was, and the reason I pushed so heavily to get it onto the forum and got the forum developers to do it, was purely because I wanted us to be in a situation, especially like myself, when I come in, perhaps after I've been filming for a few hours and I go in and there's a couple of hundred posts in the forum, I haven't got time to sort of, you know, talk about every single one of them, come up with a reply or something else. But by giving it a little thumbs up from a, you know, technically the writer's point of view, he can see people have looked at it because he might have 10, 20, 50, 100, 1,000 likes on it. And just that way, you know your work's being seen and people appreciate it. And that's my point to it as well. It's just, I can give a quick thumbs up to it to say, yes, I am watching. So if you're doing a big build article, you know, I might not be able to post on every single one of them, but certainly I can give you a thumbs up and everything else like that. So that is the idea to it. It's just a sort of, you know, because sometimes, let's face it, we all do it. You look at a thread and it might have 10, 20 comments on it, but it's had a couple of hundred looks, and it's a case of, well, why haven't more people mentioned it? But a lot of them may be just agreeing with what's already been written or something else like that. So by giving it a thumbs up, you can have a little thumbs up in there. It's as simple as that. It does give you a score. You get a full-on score. It's called your reputation score. If you go into your profile, you can see it in there. Basically, it just tallies every single thumbs up you've ever had from the entire forum over time, and you get a reputation score. Will people get prizes for it? I don't know. As I said, I think it's more of a case of I wanted it to be, so it's like an appreciation versus anything else, but certainly it was a nice thing to do. Anyway, myself and the rest of the team all got together on Sunday night, and we had a bit of a sort of video conference and all spoke, really trying to sort out what we're going to do for SIGs and group builds and everything else for next year. So Hans, being a great guy that he is, has done this. This is our planner. It's the official group build planner. So, you know, obviously finishing off this year, we've got the post-apocalyptic vehicle mayhem SIG still going on. That's going to run for literally, we've got another month on that exactly. It's going to run to the 26th of October. Okay, we've got the Operation Overlord. This is the 70th commemoration of the D-Day group build going on at the moment. That has got until the 23rd of November, so we've got a little bit more time on that. We've got the Great War 100th commemoration that's SIG going on at the moment. That you've got until the 16th of November. Okay, and then we've got the new one that started last week. We've got for the armoured fighting vehicles, this is the Cold War Russian armour SIG. That's going on at the moment, but you've got until the 15th of January for that one. Okay, so you have got, sorry, the 4th of January for that one. So you've literally just got until the new year with those. Okay, now next year, this is how we've planned it out. I hope you're all going to like it, but we've sort of come to this conclusion on this one. Starting on the 3rd of January, and it's going to run for 24 weeks. Obviously, it's a 6-monthly group build. It's the full-on one, so you're going to get the prizes, you're going to get the medals, stickers, and all the other bits and pieces. We're really going to go to town with this one. Okay, this is the Middle Eastern conflicts, stirring up dust, we've called it, group build. Basically, any conflict that's ever been in anywhere in the Middle East. So you can go from the dawn of time until modern day. It gives you lots of scope on this one, okay? So really, anything from the Middle East, all that lovely dusty stuff, that is going to get our full attention for 6 months as a full group build. We've got one rollover from last year. We got the Night Fighters throughout the ages. Unfortunately, we didn't have time to do it this year, so it's going to roll over slightly into next year, okay? So you've actually going to run from the 13th of December until, sorry, we got that right? Yeah, 13th of December until April the 5th. It's going to run for 16 weeks, okay? That's a SIG for all your Night Fighters, all right, throughout the ages. Then after that, we've got, where have we got? Just moving down, let's try and do them in some semblance of order. We've actually got the annual Easter egg hunt. Obviously, this is the 5th year we've been doing this one. This is going to go from the 14th of March until the 5th of April. It's going to be a 4-week SIG on this one. It's all your egg planes. We had loads of scratch building ones last year. You know, we had some truly fantastic work. So hopefully we'll be doing that again. After that, we've got the towed and towing vehicles. This is the first armoured vehicle SIG for 2015. It's going to run from the 17th of January to the 10th of May. So obviously we've got Steve and Bob will be leading that one in their usual way. Basically what this means is if it's a towed vehicle, okay, or you know, something towing it, that's the idea. So we're thinking artillery, anything that you can tow behind, you know, I don't know, sort of packs, 88s, things like that that you tow behind, you know, obviously rocket launchers, howitzers, whatever you want to do. But if you wanted to, you could do the vehicle as well. Okay, so we're thinking nice dioramas, things like that in there. Okay, good one, this one. This is the twin tail mashup. This is the first SIG for 2015. It's going to start on April the 4th and going to run till the 26th of July. So obviously you've got a full SIG build on this one. We're talking anything from modern day F-18, Tomcats, F-15s, anything that's got 2 tails. Okay, right the way back in time to things like, I don't know, I'm going right back now, trying to think further. Yeah, obviously you're thinking your Lancasters, your B-24s, your Liberator type things. You've got, you know, obviously all your civilian aircraft that had twin tails, right the way back to obviously World War I stuff that had twin tails and everything else like that. So if it's like a boom system or has 2 vertical stabilizers, things like that, then obviously that is what you're up for. Where's Me Top? Great title, we couldn't think of anything better, quite frankly. This is basically the second armoured fighting vehicle SIG. It's going to run from the 16th of May until September the 6th next year. And basically we're talking any soft top, rag top, open top vehicle you can think of, armoured vehicle related. So we're thinking obviously self-propelled artillery, you know, obviously jeeps, anything that is a soft top vehicle basically that doesn't have a iron top on it. All right, Okay, the first SIG for the Navy guys or the naval guys is Run Silent, Run Deep. Any sub, any era. That's going to run from the 25th of July 2015 until the 15th of November. So you've got a nice one on that, led by Stefan. Great job. We're thinking everything. I'm thinking personally of a diorama, nice big A3 sheet, some waves, and a periscope. That should do me nicely. That's the type of one I'm up for. Okay, after that we've got the Sherman's Might. Okay, this is the third armoured vehicle SIG of the year, September the 12th until the 3rd of January 2016. I know, we like to plan ahead. All right, we are, obviously because of Fury coming out and things like that, we're thinking all the Shermans is bit overlooked in the world, quite frankly. There's everything from your DD types right up to your Super Shermans and everything in between. Loads of different versions of those in there, so we're going for that one. Okay, for you sci-fi guys, we've got basically from the 17th of October until the 7th of Feb next year, so it's 16 weeks. Any sci-fi film related. Okay, so basically any science fiction film, you can do anything from that. It's as simple as that. Very nice broad thing. So we're thinking all those sci-fi films, from figures, vehicles, starships, your normal stuff, you know, anything you like. And my personal favourite, as obviously was recommended and spoken a lot about for the live shows we've been doing over the last few weeks, was the ye old dog of a kit build. Okay, it's going to be quite late in the year because that's the only place we could fit it in. It's going to run from the 7th of November, okay, to the 28th of February next year. And basically that has to be a kit that is over a certain age, which I've still got to put in. I'm thinking anything pre 1980, so it has to be the old 70s kit, 60s and 70s kit. So yes, we're talking raised panel line, raised detail, dodgy joins if they go together at all, and everything else. But really it is any horrible kit out there that is known as a dog of a kit. That's what we're going to build for that one. So there we go. As you say, it's a pack thing. We do have this. I will put it on the site so it'll be a printable version as well, so you can print them off. We're trying to work this out with a new logo so it goes with it. I don't know if that's totally going to come off yet, but hopefully we'll be able to sort something out for you guys so you can print it off and keep up to date of exactly what we're going to do. But certainly thanks to Hans for working all those out for us. Lovely job as always. It could change. We always have this little thing where things never go according to plan, so it might shift slightly, but that is generally our idea of how we're going to run next year anyway. So anyway, that's about it for this week. Next week there may not be a new show. The live show on Tuesday night is definitely going ahead. Me and Sid will be here, 7 o'clock. Members, remember, in the forum or on the site in the streaming area, and you can see that. But it might not be a new show on Friday, purely because these huge, whacking, horrible lights, which are literally, they are this big, I have 3 now in here, are going, and we're going all high tech and having an electrician coming in, and above here we're having 4 LED studio lighting put in and a new power supply for it and everything else like that. So hopefully we're talking about it happening next Thursday, and it's going to take him a couple of days to do it all, to plumb all this stuff in, so it might not be a new show next Friday. It depends. Apparently we are waiting on the LED stuff to show up. If it hasn't turned up in time, then obviously I'll be here. Otherwise, if I'm not, you know where it is. If I'm not, what we'll do is we'll rebroadcast the live show and put that up instead. But certainly the video builds will be here and everything else, and any reviews I've done that week, they'll be up as well. It's just that part of our mass investment back into this, we're actually spending probably just under £2,000 on new studio lighting in here, and we're spending almost £5,000 on new cameras. Ooh. Who says we don't fold money back into the company? So it's nice to see where all your money goes that you pay for all of this. This is what it does. We're trying to keep on top of everything. The studio lights, although they work, they're not the best in there, because guys who come here know it gets very hot underneath these old types of lights. So obviously we've got new studio lighting coming in to upgrade. I'm probably going to gut and redo all of this, because obviously the electrician needs to get in here to get above. So I might have a bit of a shift around and reorganisation and everything else like that. Get some new bits and pieces in as well, would be nice. So as I say, don't panic if we're not here next Friday. We will be the Friday afterwards. Last thing, loads of people are asking about the new merchandise with Phyllis, who's there. Okay, yes, the guys who obviously are taking over that side of the business, they officially actually start on the 1st. Okay, the website is going to be for the store rejuggled and everything else like it. and then there'll be a page with all the promotional stuff on there. So far, definitely confirmed they obviously are doing is things like the posters, the calendars, the mugs, the badges, the stickers, the polo shirts. They're going to be in on the 5th of October, the new style ones, and everything else. They're also doing a range of other bits and pieces, including bags, hoodies, and other things, mouse mats, and everything else like that. So there is lots of stuff with Phyllis coming out, because I know loads of you have been asking about it. It should go up around about the first week of October-ish time. The polo shirts, to be honest, they won't be here until around about the 5th of October, the new ones, but obviously I'll be wearing one, so you'll know they're in, and everything else like that. So there we go. Anyway, this week I'm going to leave you with the last segment of me talking about this brilliant helicopter and the Revell photos. So until next time, take care and happy modelling.